Hello Steelers, and welcome to this very special video. I was recently talking to the guys over at Battlefront in the UK, and they very kindly have sent me the new Dunkirk starter set for their Blitzkrieg Flames of War, and also the Flames of War Blitzkrieg book as well for a review. So I thought that's what I'm going to do in this video, of course. This has just arrived today. So literally hot off the press. As you can see, I've not opened it up yet. And another thing I can think you're probably thinking at the moment is, well, Alex, you know, you're not a Flames of War player. Well, no, I'm not, but I do use a lot of Battlefront figures. I like a lot of their figures, and I also know a lot of my audience are interested in Flames of War as well. So I thought at least I'd do this review for you guys, so you can see what you're looking at when this stuff is released in the future. Now I know that there's quite a few box sets that are coming. As I said, this is the Dunkirk one. There is one with French and Germans in it. This one has got British and Germans in it. So we're going to have a look at that and dive into it and see what kind of stuff you're going to get in your box, and also what's in the book as well. So this might end up being quite a long video. And I'm going to have a look at some of the figures in a bit of close-up. I'm going to have a look at some of the tanks and things as well in there, just to give you a good idea of the kind of thing that you're going to shell out for. What I want to say is immediately, as a review, always with Battlefront, their production values are through the roof. I mean, this, you know, it's a big hardback book. I don't know how many pages are in here, but you know, it looks pretty meaty already. Already on the back there's some really nice photographs and lots of nice figures, you know, really action-filled paintings on the front as well. I don't know how many rules are in here, or if this is just really like a supplementary to the actual rules themselves, but we'll have a look at that when we get the book open itself. And also over here, obviously we've got the box set as well, and this is way bigger than I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be quite small, to be honest, about half the size of this. So this is a big meaty box set, and again, I'm not entirely sure what you're getting here. It does have a bit of a list on the back of some of the things as well. It looks like, I'll just read it out to you. So we've got one German force, one British force. We'll go through those as I go through them in the box itself. We've also got a complete A5 rule book as well in here, so you can literally pick this off the shelf and start playing. A quick start guide, which is always very useful, unit cards, and also some dice as well. So you could literally probably buy this, glue some figures onto bases, glue some of your tanks together, and get started. Let's say I've always been a fan of Battlefront's figures. I think these are new sculpts. I think they are, at least. I've not seen them before. Somebody could probably comment in the tell me in the comments if that's true or not. But I want to have a look at them anyway. It is a period that I have a bit of a side eye on, is the Blitzkrieg. I would probably use these for Chain of Command and their Blitzkrieg stuff, or even for O Group as well, which again shows you the diversity, at least, of the figures and of these sets as well. So, you know, even if you're not a Flames of War player, you might want to buy this just for the figures, because there's probably quite a lot in here. Anyway, enough waffle from me, enough introduction. Let's get this box open, let's get this book open, and let's see what we get in there. Okay, so I've taken the cellophane off the box set, as you can see here. So let's have a quick look at the back of it. So you can see from my hands how big this thing is. So we've got a nice picture there of painted miniatures and tanks and bits and pieces. We've got close up here just showing you how big they actually are in real size. You've got your contents and things, the usual stuff you would expect from any Flames of War starter set as well, with all the information and bits and pieces on there. So enough of that, let's have a quick old look inside this and let's see what we get. Right, so right, that's the top off. Right, what have we got? Immediately I can see we've got a load of British tanks in green over here. These look like the A13 cruisers. We'll have a look at these properly in a second, but there's 5 of those, I think 3 actual vehicles, and then also 2 HQ tanks. So we'll look at those in a sec. Is the A13 cruisers? Yes. We've also got obviously a load of Flames of War bases as well, which are of course useful for those figures. Can see some dice. set of dice. As I said, you know, these starter sets are actual starter sets for games. You can literally pick these up and probably play within a few hours of having put some of this stuff together. There's the Stugs. We've got Stug 3As. But also, you may notice as well, we've got also Panzer III as well. So you could actually build a Panzer III out of these two as well. So you could have one Panzer III and one Stug, or two Stugs, or two Panzer IIIs, or whatever you want, I guess. So that's quite nice, isn't it? Nice bit of useful stuff there for you. There we've got some tank commanders, both British and German, if you want to put some tank commanders in there. 2-pounders. British 2-pounders, lovely little guns. These were used all over the British Empire for the first part of the war, at least. I've got quite a few of these for the Far East, so they're quite nice to have as well to add to those. We'll look at this in a sec. Here's a big set of plastic in a plastic cellophane. It looks like we've got in here. This looks like our infantry by the looks of things. Sorry for the noise. So we've got, by the looks of it there, we've got German infantry, I can see in there. We've got some British gun crew. I'm going to take a proper look at these in a second. Some more German infantry there, more German infantry there. There's no British in here. Is this something? Am I missing something here? Oh no, I'm looking at the wrong thing. The British are here. They're just in grey, so they look like Germans. There's a British. Again, we'll look at these in some close-up in a second, but boys, it looks like we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sprues of Germans, 2 sprues of British, and those gun crew as well on top of that. So quite a bit of there. And then we've also got these light tanks as well. I think these are the Mark 6s. Yes, these are Mark 6 light tanks. Again, these were in use across the Empire for the British throughout the early part of the Second World War, at least. Obviously very quickly outclassed by a lot of stuff by 1940. What else have we got? All right, we've got a bag here. This has got our Flames of War rules in there. So softback rules, goes through everything you need there if you want to play Flames of War. I'll say it again, you know, this is a starter set. It has everything in there, so if you really want to just get started on the Second World War, you can jump straight into it. Then unit cards, of course, for the for this particular specific set. So we've got Germans and British there in green and grey. What else have we got in here? We've got, I think this looks like, yeah, this is the quick start. So again, you can be up and playing Flames of War ASAP if that's what you're really up to before you read the book. So again, nice introductory stuff. And then finally we have, this is the instructions. So it shows you here. As it says here, actually, look, Stug 3 can also be built as a Panzer 3 if you want to. It's up to you, whichever way you go with that. It shows you how Flames of War, at least, organise their figures on those bases that I've already shown you there. So that's a German motorised rifle platoon. There's 2 of those, and then a British rifle platoon as well. One of those, again, with the guns, and they have a few more tanks. All right, well, that's basically everything you get in the set, in the box. So what we'll do is I will now hone in a little bit and we'll have a look at some of these sprues and bits and pieces. Okay, first of all, let's have a little quick look at this Stug. And as always with Flames of War stuff, the Battlefront models are spectacular. I think the plastics are almost unbeatable. They're really nice. They go together really well. They're thought out particularly well as well, just not only on the sprue but just the way that the models actually fit together as well. And you can see this pretty much from the sprue. They're really clean, lovely, well made sprues, actually absolutely full of stuff as well. As I say, with this one, with the Stug one, you can also build the Panzer III as well. So it's got a body for the Panzer III plus the turret and all the other bits and pieces that you need, or you can turn it into your Stug, whichever. The sets, the set that comes in this set is the Stug. So if you want to stick with the unit cards that you've got in there, obviously you build the Stug, but it's entirely up to you or not. So yeah, again, very impressed with that. I like the German early war stuff. This is very useful, not just for the Blitzkrieg, but also for Operation Barbarossa. And to be fair, you could probably take these all the way up to 1942, early 43, where they change to the three-tone camo pattern. So you've got quite a lot of use with these things, definitely. So this is the British cruiser tank. This is the A13, as you can see here. Once again, I mean, this sprue is absolutely packed, but their stuff, it goes together so easily that even if you are a basic modeler, the instructions are clear, and also the design of the actual builds themselves makes things a lot easier just to putting stuff together and getting people into this period of the war. This one's probably a little bit more complex than the previous one because you've got to build up the turret. But I'm fairly confident in this case that you're going to get quite a lot, or it'll fit together really well. They always have done in the past. All the Battlefront stuff that I've ever put together has never been an issue. And as I say, everything is pretty clear and concise on the sprue as well, and also in the instructions as well that come with them. Then we've got the Mark 6. This is a mid-war tank from the 1930s, a light tank, so reconnaissance tank. It was used across the British Empire. So again, you could probably use this somewhere in North Africa, early parts of North Africa. You could probably also use this out in the Far East as well, in some of the areas out there. These things were, you know, across. There were more of these than any other tank at the start of the Blitzkrieg campaign. So it's good that these are being represented in that set as well. And just again, just to emphasize this, you know, the really clean, clear sprues. The molding process is really nice on these. They're very clean. It looked like literally they could just fall off with a few snips here and there, and then just go together quite easily. Lots and loads of really nice detail as well on the side. You can see the rivets on them as well, so that's going to pick up really well when it comes to the painting, for dry brushing or whatever else techniques you use, you know, for ink washes or whatever else you have going for it. But yeah, again, very impressed with these. I think these are going to turn out to be lovely little tanks when they do get made, and they will do at some point. All right, here are the British. This is the British infantry. There are two sprues of these, so I'm just going to show you one here. Well, there's actually three sprues because one is the gun crew, but they've also got this set as well over here. So this is the infantry. I think there should be enough here to make up a platoon with a couple of support weapons as well. And then you've also got, as I said, the gun crew for those 2-pounders, which can quite easily fit in there. They look like they're going to be quite nice. There's some seated guys there. I think they're going to fit together really well. And those 2-pounders will be well crewed. Now, if you look closely, I don't know if you can see this on the screen, but if you look closely at the figures themselves, you can see these are in the 1940 gear. So they've got the 1930s webbing. I can't remember which was my 38 or something webbing, and they've also got the small box respirator gas mask as well on their front as well. I did wonder before this arrived if these would be usable as First World War troops for, say, for example, the Americans, because they're wearing puttees, but because of that webbing, they're a bit too late for it. So the ammo pouches and things had slightly changed by the 30s than what they had in the First World War. That said, these are perfectly useful these are a bit more specific to the 1940 campaign and that retreat. You could, if you wanted to, and if you're that way inclined, you could always do something like Operation Sea Lion with these, either using these as, you know, the home defences, or even potentially the home guard if you really wanted to, if you want to do some of those, you know, what if scenarios. But yeah, there's quite a number of things on here. Just to point out a couple of bits and pieces. So we've got a Bren gunner. We've got the Vickers MMG over here. We've got a small mortar as well. Another that's a boys anti-tank rifle there. There's the other bit of the mortar as well, and then some of the infantry just kicking about in there as well. I've not added up how many actual figures there are in here and whether it works out as a platoon for other games such as Chain of Command, but I'm fairly sure you could probably buy this and sort out a platoon for another game if you wanted to, if you weren't playing Flames of War with them. So I say they are pretty useful across a lot of different war games as well as Flames of War. Okay, so the Germans. as you can see here, these are in their early war kit, which is quite nice. Again, this would be nice because these figures will, unlike the British who've got the gas masks on, these ones are a little bit more slightly generic for early war German, so these could probably be used quite up until probably early 42, 43, and also you could probably actually use some of these as some of the ersatz battalions towards the end of the war as well, because they would be probably wearing older kit and older gear and have, you know, some of the older equipment given to them rather than you know, the brand spanking new stuff. But again, quite a nice mix of figures. There's a lot of really nice poses in here. We've got an officer up here. We've got another guy leading his men forward with a pistol. A few NCOs with machine pistols. A lot of riflemen in there. We've also got, as you can see, MG34 guy. There's another one, I think, here. There's, I think that is a, I can't remember if it's a Panzerbuche, I think it's called, the German anti-tank rifle, which is very nice to see. And obviously their support guys, their crew guys to go with them as well. And once again, oh, and also the small 30mm mortar. Is it 30mm? I can't remember. Tell me in the comments. So according to the box with the figures in here, you should be able to make up 2 platoons of German infantry, which is quite nice. And as I say, I keep saying it, but you know, this channel is largely about chain of command, but I could quite easily make a platoon of Germans, probably from the figures that are in here, for chain of command quite easily, just putting these together with some supports as well. And again, that goes for any other game really that you want to play that isn't Flames of War. So I still think, you know, this as a box set is useful for anybody who's looking to look beyond just the Flames of War stuff. It's worthwhile getting just for the figures and the tanks, because it's a great starter set for the price that it is. And then finally, just from the box set, there's a couple other bits and pieces. I'm not going to show you them because it's just bits and pieces from the usual generic Flames of War stuff like the bases and things. But this is the last model in here, and this is the 2-pounder anti-tank gun, the typical British 2-pounder. The 2-pounder was a pretty typical British gun for the early part of the war, so you would find this all over the place in Africa, as I said, Far East, also in France, various other places the British were fighting. This is a nice little kit. This one's probably a little bit more complicated than the previous ones because there's quite a lot of little bits on this one. So this one, you know, if you're new to building models, or if you're new to Second World War gaming in general, this one I would probably tackle this one last out of all of the other builds. Get your hands used to dealing with small bits and pieces, because I think this one, you know, some of these bits they're quite spindly, but they are also full of detail. But you know, it's one of those things you might, if you're not careful, you may break them on the sprue. So just be careful with that. I think that's the lesson here, really, with the 2-pounder. But looking forward to putting some of these together, I think. All right, well, let's take a look at this book as well. As I said, this is the hardback book that comes with it comes separately, but it is the one that will deal with all the bits and pieces in Flames of War. Also, I didn't realise in the cellophane is a Flames of War catalogue as well for the Blitzkrieg stuff, so that just shows you all the products that either are coming or will be available at some point. And there is quite a lot of stuff here, so we've got some nice French bits and pieces over there. You can see all these different sets, so they really are pushing out a lot of very useful sets for the early part of the Second World War. And with them being plastic figures and plastic tanks, I really like that, because it just makes it a lot easier to get them down to the club overnight. My back hurts these days, so it's quite nice to be able to carry stuff. Oh, just noticed some Stukas there. They're going to be interesting. I like a Stuka or two, so I might have a look at some of those at some point in the future. But yeah, so quite a lot of stuff is actually coming for this release over the next few months, I think. I'm not entirely sure what the timeline is for this, but there's something to look out for. So this is the book itself. So this is your supplement. This is basically just, you know, your guide to the Blitzkrieg. And again, the first time I've opened this, so I'm just really looking at this with you at this point as well. So got a little bit of nice background there about the Second World War. And then we've got bits and pieces about some of the fighting as well in 1940, at least, for 39 and 40, so the attack into Poland and also into France as well, and Belgium and all those places. And Lots of history. And again, one of the things that I like a lot about the Flames of War stuff, or Battlefronts in particular, is that their books are not only really nicely produced, they've got lots of really good images in there. They've also got lots of good maps, that kind of stuff in there, but they've also got lots of really good history as well, so you can just sit down and read these things just to give you some background history on this stuff. And obviously, you know, when you're playing historical war games, the lore, shall I say, or the history of it is the history itself, so it's really nice to have that included in just potted history as to get you up to get you up to snuff with what you're actually gaming on the tabletop itself, and lots of nice photos as well as the thing. Then we move into the Germans. Again, bits of potted history there for the Germans, the Poland campaign, and then also the invasion of France and the Low Countries. So again, lots of history here. There's quite a lot of this stuff. I'll probably just sit down and read this, to be perfectly honest. Just myself, just to refresh my history of it. And then, this is nice, Know Your Panzers. A little spotter's guide to a panzer tank and the different types of panzers. And these are all the ones that are used in the invasion of France and also Poland as well. Just to give you an idea, and just the size of these things as well, which is quite nice. Going on to the other side as well there we've got, and then any special rules that the Germans have got within Flames of War itself. Then we've got the organisations, and obviously this is all based around Flames of War stuff, but you know, these are based on historical orders of battle for these different antagonists in the fighting. So you know, quite nicely detailed, and gives you a pretty good idea of the different kinds of platoons that will be attached together and things. So you can basically make up your forces as well. Your Panzer Division there. Obviously, a lot of this stuff is going to be about the Flames of War game itself. Basically tells you all the different stats for these different vehicles in those rules. So once again, you could dive straight into this stuff. More information there about Rommel. The different types of tanks, there's quite a lot of stuff, different types of tank units in here, so there's quite a lot of stuff in here. The infantry units as well in here, the Schutzen, their different mortar platoons, machine gun platoons, motorised rifles. A lot of this stuff is probably fairly obvious. I'm just going to kind of leap forward a little bit into it because there's a lot of German stuff, as you can see. Very complicated army that they had into the infantry divisions, the kind of stuff that they would have supporting them with guns and that kind of thing. And then the SS as well, because you can't fight the Second World War without at least mentioning the SS somewhere in there. And then also these things as well, so we've got wildcard units, so strange vehicles that pop up. A lot of these I think were used, the Neubaufahrzeug, if I'm butchering the German. These, I think some of these were used up in Norway, so you could always, you know, relocate to Norway if you wanted with some of this stuff as well. And then support units and that kind of thing as well. So jumping through here, then it moves into a nice painting guide and basing as well, which is nice. Again, these things, this is what I like. I think, you know, in a way to ease people into wargaming, and in particular historical wargaming, because it is so complicated and it is so absolutely, you can spend a lifetime researching things and still find something new, you know, every day. It's just nice to have very basic, very simple, you know, here is paint these using these colours in this way and do this. And it's just, for some of us old war gamers, a lot of us grumble about this, but I don't. I think this is a really good way of just introducing young people and new players into historical wargaming. The more we get into it, the better. So I'm all for this kind of thing, you know, just showing you how to paint things and stuff like that. I don't particularly need it, but there is somebody out there who does. Okay, we've got the French. So once again, any special rules to do with the French? We've got the fighting for France as well, some of their tanks as well, so you can identify their different vehicles. Then their organisation as well. I'm not going to go through everything here simply because a lot of it is similar to the Germans, but this is nice as well. We've got, I just noticed this, we've got the charts here, the organisations for the different tanks and how they're numbered, things, so you can actually put your proper numberings onto your tanks as well as part of your game or the modelling you're doing. And various different platoons and organisations throughout here. So again, once again, I'm not really going to linger too much on this because it's very similar to, as I said already, to the German stuff. Let me just jump through, but we'll have a look at their painting guide as well. Lots of different tanks, lots of different units, lots of different vehicles. Again, another particularly complicated set or army. And then we've got the French painting guide as well. And once again, just to go back to that, I mean, I think, you know, this is always a nice thing to do, is just to lead people a bit by the hand when it comes to this stuff. So, you know, not everybody is going to need this when they pick this book up, but there are going to be a number of people who will need this. So it's very useful for them to have that and to have those guides just to get them actually started. So, you know, it's not just about the Flames of War game, it is also about the modelling and the painting and all the other stuff that comes with wargaming. This makes historical wargaming interesting. Then finally in this set we've got the British, and this is the BEF, again tank ID, and then I think these have probably got far fewer units because a much smaller army than both the French and the German, but you know, there's still quite a mix of bits and pieces you've got in here, so quite a lot of cavalry units using those light tanks and things, and some detail on some of the tank brigades that were fighting as well, and infantry divisions as well that are out there. And then of course onto the infantry units as well. Let's just jump forward to one thing I noticed there. We've got the TOG. This is the massive tank, the ridiculous tank, tank heavy TOG 1, which was supposed to be useful, but really wasn't. Anyway, it actually says here, potential combat. If the Battle for France had dragged on through 1940, some completed TOG 1 prototypes had been sent for combat testing. So it's a bit like having a mouse late war, but you know, it is what it is. Just a bit of a laugh. It could have happened. It could have happened if Germany had landed in Britain. But again, there we go. Usual stuff, and then straight onto that painting guide as well for the British as well here, with their uniform, which is quite nice. So really simple stuff, and I mean 15mm figures are really easy to paint up anyway, because they're much smaller than 28mm, so they don't take half the time to do as those ones. And then we have a bit of a terrain guide at the very end of it as well, just to show you how to set up a typical French countryside terrain, basically, which is quite nice. Again, this is something, you know, that a lot of people, when you've got experience in wargaming, you may not think about, but you know, when people are first setting up, they don't always know this stuff. I mean, I would probably put a lot more terrain on this than they have, but then this is for Flames of War. It's a bit more abstract to some of the games that I play, but even so, it's just nice just to have that, you know, those pointers for people who want to play these things. So yeah, and then we jump back. That's it. That's the book itself. So I think as a piece of work, that is great. You know, if you're into Flames of War, you've probably already got this on your list of things to buy, something new to get some new armies in and get your teeth into. If you are not new to Flames of War, I think, you know, overall, or if you're not new to historical wargaming, you know, whatever I think of Flames of War, I think these sets and these books are very good for pushing people into historical wargaming. So that's them really. I mean, the kind of closing thoughts here really is that I think I'm very impressed not only by the amount of stuff that's in the box set. As I say, when they said they'd send this over to me, I was expecting a smaller set and not as much stuff in there, to be honest. And also the book as well. Really well produced, you know, nice hardback, look nice on the shelf as well, and also, you know, full of stuff, full of information for the new player. Whatever you think about Flames of War, and I certainly have my thoughts about it as a game, the you know, the amount of work that Battlefront put into these things, and you know, the historical detail, the background stuff, the paintings, the production levels are absolutely through the roof, and you cannot doubt them for that at all. And I think, you know, anything that helps a new player get playing any war game, specifically Second World War historical war gaming, which is my favourite, I think is a great thing. So I'm pleased to see these, and I think I think they'll do well for Battlefronts, and hopefully you've enjoyed this review as well. I didn't just want to do it just as like a box opening. I want to talk a little bit about the stuff that you get in there. And I am, these are my own thoughts. I am, very, very, I'm very pleased with the amount of stuff that you get here, and the detail on those vehicles and all those other bits and pieces that we talked about earlier in this review. So, of course, if you have enjoyed this review, please let me know in the comments. Please let me know as well if this is something you're probably thinking about buying. If you're going to buy it, are you going to be buying it for Flames of War? You'll be buying it for something else? Is it worthwhile diving into? I think it is, certainly. I don't get any money for that, just to tell you. But I think it's worthwhile having a look at least, and investing in. You're going to get quite a lot out of it. And leave me a comment, leave me a like as well, and if you haven't already, of course, please do subscribe to the channel. And of course, as always, I will see you in the next Storm of Steel video.